As you bring your awareness to your breath, I want you to focus on the ribs in the sides of your body. Make your breath wide, side to side, expanding those ribs. They lift up as you inhale, letting those ribs fall with the exhale. So just breathing and expanding into the sides of the body. Feel as though that whole torso is expansive and wide as you breathe. We give most of our attention to what is right in front of us. And we tend to forget about the things in the periphery, so the sides of our body. And that may represent the parts of us that we tend to ignore. The parts of us that we push down, maybe we don't accept. We sort of keep them out, away, maybe even out of arm's reach. Leading with the best parts of us. But we really need to embrace the whole person, the whole body. Taking those parts of us and maybe giving them a little bit of a push to come to the forefront. We're going to give some awareness. Strengthening all aspects of our body and of ourself. Take your right hand down to the mat. Try to anchor the hips and the pelvis onto the bolster or onto the floor. Push into that right hand. Allow that right shoulder to dip down closer to the pelvis. Open in that left side of your rib cage. Left hand goes overhead. You can take your gaze to that right thigh or that right knee. Effort into that right arm, right shoulder as you reach and expand on that whole left side. Nice full breath into that left side of the rib cage. Maybe you feel it all the way down at the top of the pelvis. Inhale, right arm up, both arms overhead, reaching. Hands can be right over top of the shoulders if that feels good, or take them a little bit wide. Just wiggle a little bit, cat-cow, move side to side, whatever helps you loosen to get that full expansion. Left hand comes down. Push into that left hand. Let that left shoulder drop down to that left side of the pelvis. Right arm stays overhead as you reach and expand into that right side of the rib cage. Gaze can be at that left thigh, left knee. Effort into that right arm. Effort into that left arm. They're going in opposite directions. Lifting and reaching, kind of pushing into the floor with the left side. Both arms up. Inhale, nice and large, wide, expansive. Exhale, arms come down. Prop up on your elbow. Push into that forearm and that elbow. Lift your hips. And again, look down your body. Push your hips forward so that your knees, your thighs, your hips, and your shoulder is all in one line. And you feel that effort on the underside now. I feel it in your shoulder for sure, but in that torso, maybe in the side of the hip towards the floor. Just feel that effort holding. You'll feel the glutes working to push those hips forward. And then rest those hips down. Now, using the chair, because you want your legs relatively straight. The top leg is going to go up into the chair. You're laying all the way down. Try to have your hip pointed straight up towards the ceiling. And what you're going to do is you're going to lift the lower leg. Lift it up towards the other leg. It doesn't have to go very far, but now you want to feel this in the inside of that thigh. We're just placing the top leg on the chair or elevated so that it's out of the way. But the lower leg is moving towards the upper thigh. And just feel that effort on the inside of that thigh. That's a muscle we don't really pay attention to very much. So you'll feel that that's difficult. That effort is hard to do. Again, try to keep the foot so that now the inside edge of the foot is parallel to the floor. Bring your chair to wherever you have the wall next to you. We're going to do half moon on each side. So prepping for half moon, you can put that chair right up next to the wall or next to the footboard of your bed if it's high, or even a dresser, a long dresser. So your shoulder and your hip is almost beside the wall. And you're going to put both hands into the chair. Whatever side is next to the wall, take that hand and put it right in the center of the chair and make sure that it's nice and stable. It's not going to tip. So a nice long stance. Your hip is right over your right ankle. You can take your other foot that's away from the wall, take it back, almost in a lunge position. And you're going to rotate your body away from the wall. You can put your shoulder on the wall, your hip on the wall, kick that back leg up. Put your back heel onto the wall. Adjust your hand so it's right under your shoulder. Your hip is right over top of your ankle. Nice long spine. And the top hand reaches to the ceiling. You can put your hand on the wall if you want to. And then just look straight ahead. You can also look up to your hand if you have that range of motion in your neck and you want to do that. If you peek at your back foot, the one that's on the wall, flex the foot and you want the side of the foot, again, to be parallel to the floor. You don't want your toes to be pointed up towards the ceiling. Keep the foot pointed in towards the center of the room. Now, as you get good here and balance, can you take any part of you off of the wall? Like, can you take your hip off the wall? Could you leave your hip on and take your foot off the wall? Can you take your whole body off of the wall and practice as a balancing pose? To come out of it, you can bring that hand down, just step that back foot down. Step the feet together. I'm gonna switch to the other side. So now I have the other side of my body next to the wall. Positioning that foot so that my hip is going to be right over top of it when my hand is directly under my shoulder. Now I've got the other side of the body on the wall. Step back with the foot away from the wall and turn the body. Reach overhead. So half moon. Check your foot as you flex the foot. You want the outside edge to be parallel to the floor. Feel that effort in the side of the body, the side of the hip, the torso. The bottom leg, keep a little tiny bend in it. Don't lock it back. I just kind of felt my knee was locked, so keep a little bend in it. Just keep that body nice and long. You can always look up to your hand if you want to. And then step out of it. And go wide legs. You may want to prop your hips up just a little bit if you want to get your sit bones elevated, whether it's on a blanket or on the bolster, because you want to sit up nice and tall. Because now that we've really worked those inner thighs, we want to lengthen them. So just walk those legs out to wherever you feel a little bit of tension, not painfully so, just a little bit of stretch, and play with your cat-cow in this position. You want to come to a nice balanced position through the spine. You don't want to be so rounded out. So if you feel like you can't get an arch in your low back, you need to raise those hips up a little bit more. But as you find that nice balance, nice tall spine, make sure that your feet are pointed up towards the ceiling. And just feel that length. Maybe you feel that in the inside of your knees. Some of those muscles end in the thighs, and there's a couple of those adductor muscles that cross the knee. So if you can, take your hands out to your thighs, your shins, and just lean into it a little bit. So you get a forward lean, which deepens the stretch. If you can get further still, just still make sure the toes are pointed up towards the ceiling. You can take your hands in front of you, walk those hands out in front of you. Again, think of a little lift of the tailbone. Don't let your low back round completely. And then walk your hands back. Now bring your feet together. Bringing those heels as close to your pubic bone as is comfortable. And just let those knees fall out. Again, if you hold on to your ankles, you can use those ankles to help position your pelvis. So you want that little bit of arch in your back still. Not rigidly so. You can kind of round and arch just to feel a nice balanced position in the pelvis and the low back. And then feel like you're pressing the knees outward and lengthening in the inside of the thighs. So because we have those two sets of adductors, what we call short and long, short going to the thigh, long going across the knee, we have to lengthen them two different ways, knees bent, knees straight. So if you don't love this position, you can always help to support this position with a block at whatever height is good for you to kind of find that position, and then you can push your knees into the blocks so that you get a little support from the outside of the hips to lengthen in the inside of the hips. Still keep that nice long spine. And then you can release the ankles, maybe help those knees back together. So embracing those parts of us that we might typically ignore is not to bring them up and be ashamed again. It's to bring them up and soften around them. Give them some love and some compassion. Turning that compassion toward yourself first so that we can begin to spread that compassion to others. Inhaling the palms away from the body. Exhaling, palms together, thumbs to the heart. Namaste.